The exiles cried, the crimson sands of Kepler Station swirled in the artificial wind as Dr. Marcus Webb stepped out of the medical center. The dual suns cast harsh shadows across the frontier outpost, but nothing prepared him for the scene unfolding in the central plaza. A crowd of tall, silver-skinned beings had gathered in a tight circle, their melodic voices raised in what could only be described as righteous fury. Marcus had been treating humans and various alien species for 3 years on this remote station, but he'd never seen the Calarians so agitated. Their normally serene faces were twisted with anger, and their luminescent markings pulsed with an angry red glow. At the center of their circle knelt a female Calarian, her silver skin pale with fear, her long white hair disheveled and stained with dust. "You speak poison against the sacred council," one of the male Calarians shouted, his voice carrying the musical quality of his people but filled with venom. "Your lies threaten the very foundation of our society." The kneeling woman lifted her head, and Marcus felt his breath catch. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean water, filled with tears but blazing with defiance. "I speak only truth," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "Our people are dying, and human medicine could save them. The council forbids it out of pride, not wisdom." A collective gasp rose from the crowd. One elder stepped forward, his ceremonial robes marking him as a high-ranking official. "Zara of the Northern Clans, you are hereby banished from all Calarian territories. Your words are heresy, your presence a contamination. Leave now, or face the consequences of your blasphemy." Marcus watched in horror as they stripped her of her healer's medallion, the symbol that marked her as one of their most revered medical practitioners. The metal disc hit the sand with a dull thud, and Zara's shoulders shook with silent sobs. "Go," the elder commanded. "Find solace with the humans you praise so highly. See how long their false compassion lasts when you have nothing to offer them." The crowd dispersed quickly, leaving Zara alone in the plaza. She remained on her knees, staring at the medallion in the dust. Marcus found himself walking toward her before he'd made a conscious decision to move. His medical training overrode his caution as he knelt beside the broken woman. "Are you injured?" I asked softly, pulling out his portable scanner. Up at him with those incredible blue eyes, surprise replacing some of the pain in her expression. You are human," she whispered, as if stating an obvious fact that somehow held great significance. Double quotes Dr. Marcus Webb. He introduced himself, offering her a gentle smile. "And you're Zara? Apparently a healer like myself." He helped her too, her feet noting how she trembled despite her attempt to appear strong. "What did you mean about your people dying? About human medicine?" Zara glanced around nervously as if expecting her former people to return and drag her away. "There is a plague among my kind, a wasting sickness that turns our silver skin gray and steals our life force. The council claims it is divine punishment for associating too closely with other species. But I have studied, researched. I believe human medical technology could cure it." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He'd heard whispers about increased Calarian deaths, but their species was notoriously secretive about internal affairs. "What kind of symptoms? How long has this been happening?" 3 seasons now," Zara replied, her voice growing stronger as she spoke of her area of expertise. "It begins with fatigue, loss of luminescence in our markings. Then comes the graying of skin, difficulty breathing, and finally," she swallowed hard, "death within a month of first symptoms." "That sounds like some kind of systemic poisoning," Marcus murmured, his medical mind already working through possibilities. He looked at this brave woman who had sacrificed everything for her beliefs and made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "Come with me." Zara hesitated. "I cannot ask you to risk your standing with my people. They are influential on this station." "You're not asking," Marcus replied firmly, taking her hand. Her skin was surprisingly warm, despite its metallic appearance. "I'm offering," one healer to another. He squeezed her fingers gently. "Besides, I've never been one to back down from a challenge, especially when lives are at stake." As they walked toward the medical center, Marcus couldn't help but notice the graceful way Zara moved despite her obvious exhaustion. There was something about her that drew him in beyond mere professional interest. Her dedication to truth, her willingness to sacrifice everything for her people's welfare. and those mesmerizing eyes that seemed to look directly into his soul. "Thank you," Zara whispered as they reached the entrance to his facility. "I do not know why you would help an exile, but your kindness will not be forgotten." Marcus paused at the threshold, looking down at her upturned face. "Maybe it's because I recognize someone who puts healing above politics." "That's rare in any species." He activated the door controls. "Welcome to my medical center, Zara. Let's see if we can solve this mystery together," as the door closed behind them. Neither realized they had just taken the first step on a journey that would challenge everything they believed about love, loyalty, and the courage to stand up for truth. Hidden sanctuary. The medical center's sterile corridors felt like a sanctuary after the harsh judgment of the plaza. Marcus led Zara through the main treatment area, past several curious human patients who stared openly at her exotic appearance. Her luminescent markings had dimmed to barely visible traces, and her silver skin seemed to shimmer with exhaustion. "This way," Marcus said softly, guiding her to his private office behind the main ward. The room was cluttered with medical texts, research papers, and holographic displays showing various anatomical structures. "You'll be safe here while we figure out our next steps." Zara sank into the chair across from his desk, finally allowing her composed facade to crack. Her shoulders sagged, and she buried her face in her hands. "I have lost everything. My position, my home, my people's respect. And for what? They will continue to die while I sit in exile." Marcus moved around the desk and knelt beside her chair, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. The contact sent an unexpected warmth through both of them. "You haven't lost your knowledge or your compassion. Those are the most important tools any healer possesses." She looked up at him, tears creating crystalline tracks down her silver cheeks. "You truly believe human medicine could help my people?" "I believe in following evidence wherever it leads," Marcus replied, his thumb unconsciously stroking her shoulder. "Tell me more about this plague. When did it first appear? Are there any environmental factors that might contribute?" As Zara began describing the symptoms in detail, Marcus activated his computer terminal and began cross-referencing her information with known diseases. Her voice grew steadier as she fell into the familiar rhythm of medical discourse, and he found himself captivated by her intelligence and dedication. "The interesting thing," Zara continued, "is that it only affects Calarians who live in our traditional settlements. Those who have moved to integrated communities like this station seem immune." Marcus froze, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Only traditional settlements? What's different about those areas?" "Everything," Zara said with a bitter laugh. "The council insists on maintaining our ancestral ways. We use only traditional water sources, grow only heritage crops, refuse most modern technology." Her eyes widened as she saw his expression. "You think that's significant?" "It could be everything," Marcus said excitedly, pulling up geological surveys of Calarian territories. "Look at this water table analysis from 6 months ago. See these mineral concentrations?" Zara leaned closer to examine the display, her shoulder brushing against his arm. The innocent contact made Marcus acutely aware of her proximity, the subtle floral scent that seemed to emanate from her skin. "I don't understand human notation," she admitted. "Here. Let me show you," Marcus said, his voice slightly rougher than intended. He guided her hand to the control interface, his fingers covering hers as they navigated through the data together. "These readings show elevated levels of chromium-6 and other heavy metals in your traditional water sources." The implications hit Zara like a physical blow. "Poisoning," she whispered. "But how? These are sacred springs, protected for generations." Marcus continued analyzing the data. A part of his attention remained focused on the woman beside him. Her obvious pain at her people's betrayal stirred protective instincts he hadn't felt in years. Industrial runoff, maybe. Or deliberate contamination. He turned to face her fully. "Zara, what if your council knows about this? What if they're allowing it to continue?" "No," she said immediately, but doubt flickered in her ocean blue eyes. "They may be traditional, but they would never deliberately harm our people. Wouldn't they?" Marcus challenged gently. "Think about it. A mysterious plague that only affects those who follow traditional ways. While Calarians living in integrated communities remain healthy, it's the perfect tool to maintain control and prevent cultural integration. Zara stood abruptly, pacing to the small window that overlooked the station's commercial district. Her white hair caught the artificial light, and Marcus found himself admiring the elegant line of her neck. If you're right, then my exile wasn't about protecting tradition. It was about protecting a conspiracy. I'm sorry, Marcus said, rising to stand behind her. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. She turned in the small space between him and the window, bringing them face to face. The emotional intensity of the moment, combined with their physical closeness, created an electric tension neither could ignore. You have given me truth even when it hurts. That is more valuable than comfortable lies. Their eyes met and held. Marcus could see the intelligence, the courage, and the growing trust in her gaze. Without thinking, he reached up to brush a strand of silver hair from her face. You're remarkable, he murmured. Your people don't know what they've lost. Zara's breath caught at his touch. In her culture, such intimate contact between unmarried individuals was forbidden. But the rules that had governed her life seemed meaningless now. Marcus, she whispered, her voice carrying a note of wonder. He leaned closer, drawn by the vulnerability and strength he saw in her. Their lips were inches apart when the medical center's alarm system suddenly activated. Filling the room with flashing red lights, Kellerion security forces requesting entry, the automated system announced. They are conducting a search for a fugitive. Marcus and Zara sprang apart, the spell broken by immediate danger. The emergency shelter, Marcus said quickly, leading her to a hidden panel in the wall. It shielded against most scanning devices. As he helped her into the cramped space, their hands touched again. I won't let them take you, he promised, his eyes fierce with protectiveness. Zara squeezed his hand, her heart racing not just from fear but from the emotions he'd awakened in her. Be careful, she whispered back. As the panel closed and Marcus went to face the Calarian guards, both knew their relationship had irrevocably changed. They were no longer just two healers working together. They were partners in a dangerous truth, drawn together by forces neither fully understood but could no longer deny. Dangerous discovery, the hidden compartment was cramped and dark.
Oh.
But Zara could hear every word of the conversation in Marcus's office. The Calarian guards spoke in their native tongue, probably assuming the human doctor wouldn't understand. They were wrong. Have you seen the exile, Zara? Guard Captain Chiron demanded. She is spreading dangerous lies that threaten station security. I haven't seen any Calarians today except you. Marcus replied smoothly. What kind of lies are we talking about? Nothing that concerns humans, another guard interjected sharply. Just ensure she doesn't contaminate your medical facility with her presence. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Zara heard the guards leave. Marcus's gentle knock on the panel was her signal to emerge, but when he helped her out, she immediately collapsed into his arms. Overwhelmed by the weight of what she'd overheard, they called me a contamination, she whispered against his chest, her voice breaking. My own people see me as a disease to be eliminated. Marcus held her tightly, his heart aching for her pain. You're not contaminated. You're the cure there, too blind to see. His hand stroked her silver hair, marveling at how soft it felt. I've been analyzing more data while you were hidden. It's worse than we thought. He guided her to his desk where multiple screens displayed water quality reports, death statistics, and geographical analysis. The contamination isn't accidental, he said grimly. Someone has been systematically poisoning the traditional water sources for over a year. Zara stared at the evidence, her scientific mind warring with her emotional attachment to her people's leadership. But who would benefit from killing our traditionalists? Who benefits from preventing Calarian integration with other species? Marcus countered. Your council maintains power by keeping your people isolated and dependent on traditional ways. If Calarians start adopting human or other alien customs, that power erodes. The truth hit Zara like a physical blow. She gripped the edge of the desk, her legs threatening to give way. They're committing genocide to maintain control, she breathed. And they used me as a scapegoat when I got too close to the truth. Marcus stepped behind her, his hands settling on her shoulders in a gesture of comfort that had become natural between them. I'm sorry. I know this isn't easy to accept. Zara leaned back against his solid warmth, drawing strength from his presence. The contact sent shivers through both of them, but now it was tinged with desperate need for connection in the face of devastating betrayal. "What do we do now?" she asked, turning in his arms to face him. The movement brought them intimately close, and she could feel the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her chest. "We gather irrefutable evidence," Marcus said, his voice husky from her proximity. "And then we broadcast it to every Calarian settlement simultaneously. Make it impossible for the Council to suppress or deny." Zara looked up at him with those incredible blue eyes, now shimmering with unshed tears and growing determination. "That will be dangerous. If we're caught, then we face it together," Marcus interrupted, cupping her face in his hands. "I'm not letting you fight this alone anymore." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning that went far beyond their mission. Zara placed her hands over his, her silver skin warm against his human flesh. "In my culture, when someone risks everything to stand with another, it creates a bond deeper than friendship." "What kind of bond?" Marcus asked, though his racing heart already knew the answer. "The kind that transcends species. Tradition, even death itself," Zara whispered, her eyes never leaving his. This time, when he leaned down to kiss her, nothing interrupted them. Her lips were softer than he'd imagined, and she tasted like starlight and possibility. She responded with a passion that surprised them both, her arms winding around his neck as if she could anchor herself to him in a universe gone mad. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. Marcus Zara whispered his name, a prayer on her lips. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, searching her face for any sign of doubt. "Once we cross this line, there's no going back. Your people, my colleagues, everyone will see this as wrong." Zara smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her since the exile. "Let them. I've already lost everything else. I won't lose the chance to be with someone who sees my worth." She traced the line of his jaw with trembling fingers. "Unless you're having second thoughts about being involved with an exile." Marcus caught her hand and pressed it firmly against his cheek. "Never. You're the bravest, most brilliant woman I've ever met. Calarian, human, or otherwise." He kissed her palms softly. "I'm falling in love with you, Zara. Probably have been since the moment. I saw you standing up for your convictions in that plaza." Tears spilled down her silver cheeks, but these were tears of joy mixed with relief. "I love you too," she confessed. "I thought such feelings were impossible between our species. But you've shown me that love recognizes no boundaries." They spent the rest of the evening planning their evidence-gathering mission. But every accidental touch, every shared glance, carried new weight and meaning. When Zara finally fell asleep on the small cot in Marcus's office, he watched over her, marveling at how completely this extraordinary woman had changed his life. Tomorrow, they would begin the dangerous work of exposing her people's conspiracy. But tonight, in the quiet sanctuary of his medical center, they had found something precious and rare. A love that transcended every barrier their societies had erected between them. As Marcus finally drifted off to sleep beside her, neither could have predicted that their greatest challenges still lay ahead, or that their love would soon become a beacon of hope for both their species. The Revelation 3 days of careful investigation had yielded a treasure trove of damning evidence. Marcus and Zara worked side by side in his medical center, their professional partnership now deepened by the growing intimacy between them. Every shared glance held promise. Every accidental touch sent electric currents through their intertwined lives. "This should be enough," Marcus said, reviewing their compiled data on his main screen. Water analysis reports, mortality statistics, communication intercepts, and medical records painted an undeniable picture of systematic poisoning. "The Council can't dismiss this as lies or speculation." Zara nodded, her silver skin glowing softly in the screen's blue light. Over the past days, her luminescent markings had begun to return as her health improved under Marcus's care. "The broadcast array in Communication Hub 7 has the strongest signal. We can reach every Calarian settlement from there. Getting in won't be easy," Marcus warned, pulling up the station's security schematics. "That section is heavily monitored. Then we go during the shift change at midnight, Zara suggested, moving closer to examine the layout. Her shoulder brushed against his arm, and she felt the familiar warmth that his presence always brought. I still have my medical access codes. They might work long enough to get us inside. Marcus turned to face her, struck once again by her courage and determination. You know, there's no turning back after this. Once we broadcast this evidence, you can never return to your people's protection. Zara's ocean blue eyes met his steadily. My people cast me out for speaking truth. Why would I want their protection now? She placed her hand over his heart, feeling its strong rhythm beneath her palm. Besides, I've found something worth more than their acceptance. The weight of her words, the trust and love in her gaze, overwhelmed Marcus's carefully maintained professional reserve. He pulled her against him, his lips finding hers in a kiss that spoke of desperate need and infinite tenderness. This time, there were no alarms or interruptions to pull them apart. Zara responded with equal passion, her hands tangling in his dark hair as she pressed closer to his warmth. When they finally separated, both were breathing hard, their hearts racing in perfect synchronization. I love you, Marcus, whispered against her silver temple. Whatever happens tonight, I need you to know that meeting you has been the most important moment of my life, and I love you. Zara replied, her voice trembling with emotion. You saw truth in me when my own people called me a liar. You gave me hope when I had nothing left. They spent the remaining hours until midnight in each other's arms, sharing gentle kisses and whispered confessions. Marcus traced the delicate patterns of her luminescent markings, marveling at how they pulsed brighter under his touch. Zara explored the unfamiliar contours of human anatomy, finding beauty in the differences between their species. When the station's clocks chimed midnight, they moved through the darkened corridors like shadows, their hearts beating in nervous anticipation. Zara's access codes still worked, getting them into the communication hub without triggering any alarms. How long will the broadcast take? Marcus asked as Zara interfaced with the alien technology. 7 minutes to reach all settlements, she replied, her fingers dancing over the control surface. Once it begins, every Calarian on 12 worlds will receive the transmission simultaneously. Marcus uploaded their compiled evidence to the broadcast system, watching as terabytes of damning data prepared for transmission. Your people deserve to know the truth about what their leaders have done. Beginning broadcast in 30 seconds, Zara announced, her voice steady, despite the magnitude of what they were about to unleash. As the counter reached 0, Communication Hub 7 blazed with activity. Across space, their message began reaching Calarian settlements, exposing the conspiracy that had cost so many lives. Video testimonies, water analysis reports, intercepted communications, and medical evidence flowed outward at light speed. It's done, Zara breathed. Stepping back from the console, they can't stop it now. Every Calarian in the galaxy will know what the Council has done. Marcus pulled her into his arms, both of them overwhelmed by the magnitude of their accomplishment. You did it, he said proudly. Your people will finally know the truth. Their celebration was interrupted by the sound of running footsteps in the corridor outside. Security forces had detected their unauthorized access and were converging on their location. The maintenance shaft, Marcus said urgently, pointing to a service panel in the ceiling. We can reach the civilian sectors from there. They moved quickly, Zara's athletic grace and Marcus's determination carrying them through the cramped passage moments before security burst into the communication hub. Behind them, could hear the angry voices of both human and Calarian authorities discovering what they'd done. Hours later, safe in a supply closet deep in the station's civilian quarter, they monitored news feeds on Marcus's portable device. Reports were flooding in from across Calarian space as settlements received their broadcast. Look, Zara whispered, pointing to a news report from her home world. Calarians are gathering in the capital city, demanding answers from the Council. And here, Marcus added, showing her another feed, 3 council members have already been arrested by their own people. As dawn broke over the station, they watched their world change forever. The truth they'd risked everything to reveal was spreading like wildfire, impossible to contain or deny. Traditional settlements were demanding immediate access to human medical technology, while progressive Calarians were calling for complete governmental reform. "We've started a revolution," Zara said wonderingly. "We've started a healing," Marcus corrected, kissing her softly. "Your people can finally be free of the poison that's been killing them, literally and figuratively, in that moment, hiding in a forgotten storage room while their worlds transformed around them." Zara and Marcus held each other close and knew that their love had become something more than personal happiness. It had become a symbol of hope, a bridge between species, and proof that truth and love could triumph over even the most entrenched powers. Their greatest challenges still lay ahead, but they would face them together, their bond strengthened by the knowledge that they had chosen love over safety, truth over tradition, and hope over despair. New beginnings. 6 months had passed since the night that changed everything. The Calarian Council had fallen within days of the broadcast, placed by a progressive coalition that included several traditionalists willing to embrace necessary change. The poisoned water sources had been purified using human technology, and the mysterious plague was now nothing more than a dark chapter in Calarian history. Marcus stood at the observation deck of the newly constructed Interspecies Medical Center, watching ships from a dozen different worlds dock at the expanded station. What had once been a frontier outpost was now becoming a symbol of cooperation between species. Through the transparent aluminum, he could see Zara in the main treatment bay below, working alongside human and Calarian doctors to treat patients from across the galaxy. Her silver skin glowed with health and happiness. Her luminescent markings pulsing with the gentle rhythm he'd learned indicated contentment. She'd grown her hair longer, and it now flowed like liquid starlight when she moved. The exile who had knelt, broken in the plaza, had been transformed into a leader respected by both species. Dr. Webb. A young human nurse approached hesitantly. "The Calarian delegation is here for the ceremony." Marcus nodded, straightening his formal dress uniform. Today marked the official opening of the medical center. But more importantly, it marked Zara's inauguration as the first Calarian ambassador to the Interspecies Council. Her people had not only pardoned her exile but had chosen her too, represented them in the new age of cooperation she'd helped create. He made his way to the main hall, where representatives from both species had gathered. The ceremony was a blend of human formality and Calarian ritual, symbolizing the new partnership their love had helped inspire. Zara stood at the center of the hall, resplendent in ceremonial robes that combined traditional Calarian silver with human diplomatic blue. When their eyes met across the crowded room, she smiled with such radiance that Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. Just as it had that first day in the plaza, "Citizens of the galaxy," the ceremony coordinator announced. "We gather today to celebrate not just the opening of this medical facility, but the beginning of a new era of understanding between our species." The formal speeches that followed spoke of cooperation, mutual benefit, and shared futures. But Marcus only had eyes for Zara, remembering their journey from that desperate night in his medical center to this moment of triumph. After the ceremony, they found themselves alone on the observation deck, where Marcus had been waiting earlier. The artificial sunset painted the station in warm golden hues, and the stars beyond seemed to shine with particular brightness. Ambassador Zara, Marcus said teasingly, taking her hands in his. "I like the sound of that, Dr. Webb," she replied with equal playfulness. "I believe you're supposed to address me more formally now." "Never," Marcus laughed, pulling her into his arms. "To me, you'll always be the brave healer who risked everything for truth." Their lips met in a kiss that held all the passion and tenderness of the past months. When they separated, Zara rested her forehead against his, their breath mingling in the space between them. "I have news," she whispered, her voice trembling with excitement and nervousness. "Good news?" Marcus asked, though something in her tone made his heart race with anticipation. "The medical scans you ran last week," Zara began, her luminescent markings pulsing in a pattern he'd never seen before. "They revealed something unprecedented." Marcus's breath caught. "Zara, are you pregnant?" she confirmed, her eyes shining with tears of joy. Our child will be the first human-Calarian hybrid in recorded history. For a moment, Marcus was too stunned to speak. The impossibility, the miracle of it, overwhelmed him. Then joy surged through him like a physical force, and he lifted Zara off her feet, spinning her around as they both laughed with delight. "A baby," he breathed, setting her down gently and placing his hands over her still flat abdomen. "Our baby." "The medical implications are staggering," Zara said, her scientific mind already racing ahead. "This child could be the key to understanding genetic compatibility between our species. But more than that," her voice softened, "this baby will be a living symbol of what we've built together." Marcus cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away her happy tears. A bridge between worlds, just like their mother. As they stood together on the observation deck, surrounded by the evidence of their successful fight for truth, they looked ahead to a future that seemed bright with possibility. Their child would grow up in a universe where love transcended species boundaries, where cooperation replaced fear, and where truth always found a way to shine through the darkness. "What do you think they'll be like?" Marcus wondered aloud, his hand resting protectively over their child. "Stubborn, like their parents," Zara laughed. "Dedicated to healing, passionate about justice, and absolutely beautiful inside and out." "Sounds perfect," Marcus agreed. Kissing her softly as the stars wheeled overhead in the distance, the communication arrays that had once carried their desperate message of truth now transmitted messages of cooperation and friendship across the galaxy. The medical center below hummed with activity as healers from different species worked side by side. Their unity, a testament to what could be accomplished when barriers fell. Marcus and Zara had started their journey as two healers from different worlds, brought together by tragedy and sustained by love. They were ending it as partners in every sense, their bond having literally reshaped the relationship between their species. Their child would inherit a universe where such love was celebrated rather than condemned, where truth was valued over tradition, and where the courage to stand up for what's right could change the course of history as they walked hand in hand toward their new life together. Both knew that this wasn't an ending, but a beginning. Their greatest adventures still lay ahead, but they would face them together. Their love a beacon of hope for all who believed that understanding could triumph over fear, and that sometimes the greatest truths were found in the courage to love without boundaries.